I thought I'd pick a nice simple piece to dissect here, but really it spoke to me on so many terms. And you got to put yourself back in the time it was created. It was created for the bicentennial. It was financed by a tobacco company. So there's a good chance some of my own money might have gone to Red. But apparently they commissioned about a dozen artists to do pieces in celebration of the bicentennial, and then they made prints of these and sent them to museums across the country as their public service, I guess, lieu of cancer care. Reds was just one of the 12, but in typical Red Groom's fashion, there just wasn't enough room on the canvas for him to stick everything in there that he wanted. And if you look at his work over the years, it's all just this explosion of color and action, and it's very cartoonish. And this one, of course, had all this political symbolism. It was done in '76. I was the class of 1976 at S.R. Butler High School in Huntsville, Alabama. So I was doomed to wear a red, white, and blue cap and gown. That was all there was to it. So if I had to suffer through the indignities of the bicentennial, I thought you would have to tonight. Now, I'm sure that the Kent Tobacco Company that commissioned these pieces was expecting patriotism, but when I looked at this, I didn't really get that. I got kind of maybe a yin and yang of America, maybe the good, the bad, and the ugly, all in one big sort of a circus bandwagon. I felt overwhelmed. So I had my own interpretations, of course. But I thought, maybe I should make sure that I'm on the right track. And so I thought to myself, I wonder if Red Grooms is still alive. And sure enough, I tracked him down. My conversation with Red was very illuminating, because I started off and I said, so tell me where your head was at. And he goes, oh, well, I was doing a patriotic piece. I thought it was a real flag waver. And I was like, really? You've got a launch jockey as the pilot of this vessel, and you thought that was a patriotic statement? And he goes, I didn't really have to think about that. And I said, how about the Indian? The Indian is the only one looking backwards. Surely that meant that he was looking back into his good days, into the heyday of the Native American culture. And he goes, hey, he isn't the only one looking backwards. He goes, maybe I did mean that, And I said, and what about the dog and the horse? Were you saying that the bicentennial was all just this big dog and pony show? And he goes, man, you are good at this. And I said, okay, so the horse, please tell me there's some meaning to this horse that's marching forward but looking backwards. His head's crazy. He almost looks angry, looking back at this monstrosity behind him. And he goes, yeah, I guess you could take it that way, but I just ran out of paper. A problem I run into as an editorial cartoonist all the time, which is intent, the artist's intent, and the viewer's interpretation, and how those two can be wildly divergent at times. I am always having people interpret the work I do 5 days a week. Sometimes they're insulted by things they shouldn't be insulted by. Sometimes they give me credit for far more intelligence than I possess. They explain my cartoons in layers I never thought about.
Someone once said a Clay Bennett cartoon. I'm not sure I get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, unfortunately, with my work, there's usually something to give.
Yeah.
And so if you don't get it, that is, look, there's two ways of looking at this. That's the worst thing anybody can say, is that, well, first off is, that's not funny, right? But then I explain to them that, look, not all editorial cartoons are supposed to be funny. They're serious topics. Some of them are deadly serious. So, that's easy. If somebody says it's not funny, I just tell them it wasn't meant to be funny. Even if it was. But it's, I don't get it. That one really kills me. And in 33 years in this business, I still don't know how to answer that one. I get that all the time, and I certainly understand that everything I draw is not going to resonate with every single reader, that everybody's not going to understand the references I make in my cartoons. Hell, even if they understand the references, they may not understand the point of the cartoon. I'm completely insecure, constantly, absolutely neurotically insecure about my intent being my reader's interpretation. But again, a cartoon is like art that you spoon feed to people. You make the symbolism so clunky and so obvious. You include labels if you need to. You do everything you can so that your point is not missed. I take polls all the time with sketches around the newsroom, and sometimes it's just like if I can get 3 out of 5. I'm not, at some points I shoot for 3 out of 5, and then of course, it goes to, 4 out of 7 maybe. Maybe 5 out of 9. I keep striking out here. And so at some point though, you got to ditch it and say, I'm not getting the majority of people. But I was in the convenience store the other day, and the convenience store clerk who knows me, he sells me my cigarettes, and he says, "Clay, do you mind if I ask you a question? I know what's coming next. I didn't understand that cartoon the other day." And that's exactly what the question was. And I said, "Okay, so what was the cartoon? Describe it to me." And he described the cartoon to me. And I said, "Okay, so what was going on in the cartoon?" And once he described the cartoon fully to me, he understood it. He had just never taken the time to think about it himself in any great detail. And that's just it. As we glance over things, they say you have 7 seconds to grab somebody with a cartoon. I don't know if canvases are any different, but visually 7 seconds is my window. So, the best I can say is that at least I don't waste much of your time. Much to my chagrin, I saw this presentation on how people look at cartoons. It was a scientific survey done by the New Yorker magazine, and it showed people, they had like a little glasses that had laser beams coming out of them and stuff, and they had them look at cartoons, and then they monitored their eye movement around the cartoon. And the eye movement around the cartoon was so random and so bizarrely scattered, I didn't know what I was doing anymore. It would be like, it would look up here and then down here at the caption, and then it would look up here and down back at the caption. So even people's, the movement of a reader is something that you can't predict. You can't plan for. Whenever I go through composing a cartoon initially, it is like putting together a puzzle, because each piece of the story has to be presented in a logical progression. And if you think on Western terms, that's upper right-hand corner to bottom left-hand corner. Usually you set your scene and you do all of your the work in your imagery of conveying the information you need. Where are you? Who are these people? What are they looking at, or what are they commenting on? And then you leave the punch of the cartoon, the gag line, or the focus, the hook of the cartoon should be sort of the last element you get to. So if you have a gag that's completely in the caption, I very rarely will put it in a word balloon. I will always put it underneath the cartoon, because I want people to look at the drawing fully and then read the caption. That's the order in which I want all of this digested.
I'm thinking maybe the word cartoon is just the wrong word. It connotes funny. And some cartoons are funny, but well, even say, you try to do a lot of social commentary. And that's not meant to be funny necessarily.
No, I would love for it.
You're trying to point out foibles.
Yeah.
Or things like, maybe that is funny.
Now, see, criticism often comes, it's an easier, meal to eat if it's done with humor, maybe, so whenever when I put out criticism, if I can put humor in there, it sort of disarms it. Well, I've kind of forsaken that. The whole, humor just. So now I just make really cute drawings. See, that's what I'm hoping now, is that my characters are just so damn cute, you kind of go, oh, look at that cute guy, wait a second, what? It's sort of like you got this cute little hand puppet, and then you come up and then you punch him in the face with the hand puppet. And so it's a method I'm trying. I'm hoping it's working. Thinking
It is.
all the people with black eyes around here, I'm guessing it is.